Are you considering a move to Atlanta or one of its surrounding suburbs? Did you know that the Atlanta metro area has a population over 6 million people, which makes it the 9th largest metropolitan area in the United States? Before you pack the moving truck, I have the top 12 reasons why Atlanta may not be the right city for you. If any of these are deal breakers, reconsider that move. Otherwise, we would love to have you in our awesome town. Before we get started, hi, I'm Christy with Georgia Lane Realty. We have lived and worked here in Atlanta for the last 30 years. We have been all around the city and we know the best areas to buy and sell depending on what you are looking for. If you're interested in learning more, set up a call with us, shoot us a text or an email. Our information is here on the screen. We would love to help you find that next home. We are going to start today with some of the more obvious reasons why you may not want to move to Atlanta, but be sure to stick around to the end of the video because there are definitely some on this list that you may not consider, which may end up being deal breakers for you. So the first one on this list is going to be the heat and humidity. Atlanta is often touted for having 4 seasons, meaning that it is one of those cities in the US where you're actually going to experience 4 distinct seasons throughout the year. We are not eclipsed by heat for the entirety of the year, nor do we see prolonged winters. However, during the summer months, the heat can be unbearable. We are known for having heat waves down here in the southeast. Oftentimes, the summer months, usually between May and September, you will see temperatures above 80, often above 90. It is not unheard of to get into the 100s. The big consideration though with the heat is that you also have to consider the humidity. It is quite humid here in Georgia, specifically in Atlanta, and it can often feel like not just a dry heat, but a wet heat, such that when you're outside, you will sweat immediately, and you will feel often like the air is so heavy that you're swimming through the air. However, we're not like Florida where everyone has a pool in their backyard. So you really have to take that into consideration. The combination of the intense heat and humidity during our summer months create an even higher heat index, making it feel even hotter than the temperature really is. So between those months of May and September, we often spend a lot of time indoors. And if you're coming from a state that does not have central AC in all of its homes, you're rarely going to find that here in Georgia. Everyone has AC throughout their entire house. It is not common to find homes that don't have central air conditioning. It's just needed during these summer months because the heat can definitely be dangerous certain times and unbearable. If you're enjoying today's video and understanding more about what it's like to live in Atlanta, be sure to like and subscribe. We post videos each week. A lot of times they are tours of neighborhoods in town or of the suburbs surrounding Atlanta. We would love to show you how each neighborhood and city around Atlanta has a little bit of a different vibe. So follow along with us as we show you all the areas that make up our great city of Atlanta. While we're on the topic of weather, let's talk about storms. Storms is our number 2 reason why Atlanta may not be for you. Unfortunately, with where we are located, we kind of hit the brunt of all different types of storms here. Atlanta has seen tornadoes, not as often as you'll find in the Midwest, but there was actually one that went straight through downtown Atlanta a handful of years ago and did a lot of damage to the buildings there. We also get a lot of the offshoot effect from hurricanes. So we're close enough to the Atlantic Ocean on the eastern coastline that any hurricanes that hit along the South Carolina and Georgia borders down in Savannah, we will often see a lot of the impact of those. We tend to get pretty decent rainstorms and just thunderstorms in general. A lot of storms that originate off the East Coast travel right through Atlanta and up to the Northwest. So if you are not a fan of storms and you're worried about dealing with all sorts of tornadoes, hurricanes, thunderstorms, anything like that, Atlanta may not be the right place for you. However, sometimes the rain is welcomed. It can break these heat waves we have. It's a decent balance of rainy days and sunny days such that one doesn't overtake the other. We can grow crops here with the amount of rain we get. And our drainage systems throughout Atlanta, while sometimes aren't the greatest, there's definitely worse places for that. In keeping with the environment, our third thing on the list of reasons why Atlanta may not be the right city for you is pollen. It is a running joke that there is a time in our spring each year called the pollening. It is everywhere. Pollen season in Atlanta starts usually in late February and can run all the way until May. During the peak pollen season, there is literally a coat of yellow on everything. You can walk out of your house and just see yellow coating your driveway, your sidewalk, your plants, your grass. You'll wash your car one day and the next day it would look like your black car is neon yellow. It is impossible to avoid. All you kind of got to do is just prepare for it, know it's coming, cover any outdoor furniture, and when the time comes, recognize it for what it is and try to sweep it away when you can, knowing that it'll probably come back. There is usually 2 to 3 weeks where it is most intense, and that's when you will see just daily blankets of pollen. You can literally stand outside and watch the pollen falling from the trees. In a prior video, I mentioned that Atlanta is the city in the forest. That is its nickname. Well, with that comes a ton of tree pollen. So if allergies are really bad or that is just not your thing, then maybe Atlanta is not the right place for you. Now, I'm actually going to give you reasons 4 and 5 together because they have a lot of similarities, but both are equally as annoying. Our next 2 things on the list are bamboo and kudzu. Bamboo plants can grow in tight clusters or running bamboo, which can spread out along a large area of your yard. It is such an invasive plant and it is really hard to get rid of. There is a lot of bamboo here in the city. If your neighbor ends up with bamboo in their yard, beware, because that will be coming under the fence into your yard as quickly as you can say bamboo. And not just bamboo, but Atlanta is home to kudzu. Kudzu is an invasive vine that is known as the vine that ate the South. It is very prevalent in the Southeast, specifically in the Atlanta area. It is such a hassle to take care of. It has been known to destroy major infrastructures, power lines. It will just attach to whatever host it is on and take over. It can smother native plants, trees, shrubs. If you have this in your yard, before you know it, it'll take over the entire yard. Unfortunately, it also impacts our air quality here in Atlanta. It is known as being an ongoing major environmental challenge of the city of Atlanta. So if this does not sound like a plant species that you would want to deal with in your yard, it may not be the right city for you, because if you live here, you will at some point experience kudzu and have to deal with the effects of what happens when it takes over your yard, your house, your shed, your driveway, whatever it decides to latch onto. Remember when I told you that we have hot, humid summers? That's going to lead us to our next item on the list: pests. So Atlanta has an abundance of mosquitoes because, as I mentioned, that hot, humid summer is a breeding ground for mosquitoes. It is nearly impossible to go outside here in Atlanta enjoying our parks and recreational areas without getting utterly attacked by mosquitoes. A lot of people will use spray on their bodies. I know there's the thermocell things that you can wear that will detract the mosquitoes. Those are all helpful, but just keep in mind that if you're going to be living here in Atlanta in the Southeast, mosquitoes are going to be an issue. Not only that, but if you are a homeowner or renting here in Atlanta, you are going to be dealing with carpenter bees. These carpenter bees tend to not sting humans. Occasionally they can. Normally they are just out for your house. They will bury themselves up in the wood of your home, leaving holes, shavings all around your house. You'll see little piles of wood shavings on your deck, under your garage awning, everywhere you can find wood around your home. They are a large challenge to deal with when you're living in the Atlanta area, so keep that in mind if that is something that would deter you from wanting to buy a home here in the Southeast in the Atlanta area. Obviously, we also have roaches from time to time. There are a lot of squirrels and chipmunks in the area, but more so the 2 overwhelming pests that people complain about in this area, I would say mosquitoes and carpenter bees. If you disagree, you're from this area, leave a comment down below. Tell us what you deal with most often, what you think is the biggest pest around Atlanta if it's not mosquitoes or carpenter bees. I'd love to hear from you. As a quick reminder, again, my name is Christy. I'm with Georgia Lane Realty. We are a team of agents that want to help you find your next home in or around Atlanta. Our information is again on the screen. Send us a text or an email so we can help you get the process started. Now let's get back to hearing about what else may be the reason why you may not want to make Atlanta your next home. The next item on the list, and a reason why you may not want to make Atlanta your next home, is actually a symbol of the South. It is Georgia red clay. As it says in its name, it is what a lot of our soil is made of here in Atlanta and surrounding areas. It has a clay-like texture. It is deep red in color, giving it its distinct look. It is dense and sticky when it's wet and hard and compact when it's dry. If you are a gardener that will love to turn your backyard into a garden, Georgia red clay is going to make it difficult to do so. You're going to have to add a lot of additional soil. It is not ideal. If this is something you would not want to deal with, a lot of times it will stain clothing. It is a very distinct feature of the South and something you cannot avoid if you move to the Atlanta area. Keep that in mind if it sounds like something that would not be the right thing for you. Moving right along to number 8 on our list of the top 12 reasons why you may not want to move to Atlanta is the school calendar. If you are coming from the Northeast, I know that a lot of times their schools start after Labor Day and end sometime in the beginning of June. Here in Atlanta, our schools start right at the beginning of August. They have a lot of breaks during the school year, and we will run all the way until the end of May. So our summers are actually pretty short here. They're basically just the months of June and July, which I know will not appeal to everyone that has children. So keep that in mind if that is something that's important to you. For our 9th reason on the list, it is a well-known reason why Atlanta may not be the next home for you, and it is our traffic. I have lived here for over 30 years, and I can tell you that the only other city I have experienced worse traffic in is LA. Our traffic problems here are large and unending, it seems like. We constantly have construction going on large roadways, which will cause even further delay, but there are certain routes around the city that you can 100% bet on being slow and congested every single day. It often is a running joke that Atlanta traffic starts in the afternoons around 1 p.m. and ends around 7 p.m. And while people are joking when they say this, that's not really a joke. Specifically on Fridays, traffic really never ends. So you will see it in the mornings and then it just continues right on into the afternoon. There's the one benefit of the roadways here around Atlanta is there are several different ways to get where you're going around town. So the highways are frequently used, but often surface streets can provide a better route for you. However, the population is so large that everyone has discovered the surface street shortcuts. And so a lot of times they're not any better than the highways that you would have been driving on. So I always tell people constantly use your GPS. Obviously, I go the same places every day to pick my kids up or go to the stores I'm going to, and I use GPS every single time because I'm going to want to know which route of the available ones is going to be the best traffic-wise that day, because you just never know, and it's always bad. So specifically if you are someone that is going to want to live in the suburbs but work more on the in-town area, be aware that that may cause you even longer of a commute. And with our next issue, we'll roll right into it, is our lack of public transit. This is a major contributing factor to why our traffic problems are what they are. Most major metropolitan areas in the United States have a robust and well-working mass transit system. Atlanta is just not one of them. We have MARTA. It does operate within what we call the perimeter, so really the in-town areas of Atlanta. Here is a map of the railway around the city. As you can see, it is very much focused north and south, east and west. If you vary any of those locations, you're not going to easily get there by train. They do have a pretty large bus system that runs in a lot of the areas that do not get serviced by the trains. However, it is just not an everyday utilized mass transit system like you're going to find in New York City, in Chicago. So it is definitely a contributing factor to why our traffic issues are as bad as they are. And it is the number 10 reason on our list why this might not be the right city for you. Number 11 on our list as to why Atlanta may not be the right city for you is crime. Obviously, being a major metropolitan area in the United States, we are going to experience increased levels of crime in and around the city of Atlanta. I have seen a recent statistic according to the Atlanta Police Department. As of March of this year, violent crime statistics have been decreasing rapidly and are actually at a historical low in Atlanta as of the end of 2023. However, we have seen significant increases up to 60% in the automobile theft area and shoplifting crimes around Atlanta. Again, you're going to see crime in any major city that you go to. Certain areas around Atlanta are going to experience higher crime rates than others. But in any area with over 6 million people, you're going to experience more crime than you would in smaller towns. We have made it to the last item on our list today of why you may not want to move to the city of Atlanta. And this one may surprise you. Beginning really with 2020 and what we experienced with the pandemic is when this became even more of a well-known issue around town, is street racing. So this has become a pretty large problem in and around Atlanta. Groups of people will come commandeer an intersection and just spin around the intersection with large crowds of people watching them. It typically happens between the hours of 11 p.m. and 3 a.m. The Atlanta Police Department and surrounding police departments are very aware of this issue and have been really trying to track down and deal with it. We have seen a improvement in this happening over the past year, but really since 2020, this has been a thing around Atlanta that has caused a lot of distress to its residents. Obviously, you never know when it's about to pop up. It's very loud. We had one happen near our house, and I could hear it from half a mile away. So it's something that is being dealt with within law enforcement, but it is still an issue here around Atlanta. Maybe a reason why this might not be the right city for you, but keep in mind this kind of thing can happen anywhere. I hope you've enjoyed this list today and it has given you more insight into what it's really like to live in and around Atlanta. Atlanta really is a great place to live and work and raise a family. Lots of Southern hospitality here down in the Southeast. As I mentioned before, each neighborhood has a little bit of a different vibe, so you'll definitely want to follow along as we continue to post videos each week, giving you more information about the various neighborhoods and cities around Atlanta. For the last time, I am Christy with Georgia Lane Realty. We are a team of agents that would love to help you find your next home here around Atlanta. Once again, our information is on the screen. I hope you found this video informative. Be sure to leave us a comment and let us know which of these 12 things bug you the most about living in Atlanta or would be potentially something that could deter you from moving here. I'd also love to hear about what are the great things you love about the city of Atlanta. Just leave us a comment and let us know. Looking forward to seeing you next week for our next video.